Ethiopia.
It's almost mythical, right?
Yeah.
Like when you think about coffee, you think Ethiopia,
Yeah,
where it all began.
absolutely.
And it's fascinating to see how economics, hard, cold economics,
Yeah.
can directly impact something so ingrained in a culture and really the global market, like coffee is.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Ethiopia's recent Forex regime shift.
Right. And I think for folks who aren't, knee-deep in economic jargon every day,
Sure.
a Forex regime shift essentially means, well, Ethiopia is moving away from this fixed exchange rate.
Yeah.
It's like their currency, the birr, it used to be kind of tethered to the US dollar, had this constant value.
Right, it was pegged, yeah.
Exactly, pegged. Now they're making it more, let's say, free-flowing, yeah,
Hmm.
influenced by the market, supply and demand, all that good stuff.
And that's what's really intriguing here. Ethiopia, a country so deeply rooted in coffee, making a move like this is going to have consequences, especially for a commodity as globally traded as coffee.
It's a big deal. So let's break this down. What are we actually talking about here? What does this Forex shift, this new approach mean? Like, is this good for Ethiopian coffee? Bad.
Well, if we look at it purely from an export perspective, a devalued birr. So their currency is now worth less compared to, say, the US dollar. This could be a game changer, making Ethiopian coffee significantly cheaper on the global market.
Oh, so it's like they're suddenly having a sale, but it's not really a sale, it's just the currency.
In a way, yes. And this could give them a competitive edge against other major coffee producers like Brazil or Vietnam.
Because everyone's looking for a deal, right?
Exactly. Especially with the rise of specialty coffee, which Ethiopia is known for, this could be huge for them.
Okay, so that's potentially a huge win for Ethiopia in the global coffee market. But here's a question I always have. What about the farmers? Like, does this economic advantage actually translate to a better life for the people growing the beans?
That's the million burr question, isn't it?
It really is.
In theory, increased export revenue should mean farmers can invest back into their farms, maybe even produce higher quality beans because they have the capital to do so. The reality, though, it's rarely that straightforward.
Right, because it's not just about the country making more money, it's about that money actually reaching the people who need it.
Exactly. There's no guarantee that these benefits will actually trickle down to every farmer, especially the smallholders. They often operate on such tight margins that even a small change can make a huge difference.
Right, it's like you can't just assume a rising tide lifts all boats. Sometimes those smaller boats, they get swamped.
Yeah.
So we've got the export side. What about within Ethiopia itself? Like, what does this mean for their coffee industry internally?
That's where it gets even more interesting. One of the biggest potential benefits is the impact on foreign investment. A more stable, predictable exchange rate, even if it fluctuates, is attractive to investors. They see opportunity in Ethiopia.
Because with a fixed rate, you're always kind of guessing, right? But if there's at least some predictability,
Precisely. This could lead to more investment in Ethiopia's coffee infrastructure. Think processing facilities, better transportation, even support for sustainable farming practices.
so instead of just exporting raw coffee beans, we might see more specialty coffee, small batch roasting, all of that happening right there in Ethiopia,
Exactly.
bringing those really unique Ethiopian coffee flavors to the rest of the world.
Right, and that's exciting. But
There's always a but.
there is. We have to consider the other side of this. A weaker birr might make exports cheaper, but it also makes imports more expensive.
Oh, right, because they're buying in a stronger currency.
Exactly. And that's a problem for Ethiopian farmers who rely on imported goods, things like fertilizer. Imagine this. The price of your coffee stays the same, maybe even goes up a little, but the cost of your fertilizer skyrockets.
That's a recipe for disaster, really.
It's a very real concern. It highlights the very delicate balance that this Forex shift represents.
Yeah, it's a tightrope walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think this situation, this potential challenge, might push for a stronger emphasis on things like fair trade coffee, direct trade, those models where the connection between the consumer and the farmer is a little more direct, the farmers maybe get a bigger share of the profits?
Absolutely. This shift could be the push consumers need to demand more transparency in their coffee.
Knowing where it comes from, how it's grown, how the farmers are treated.
Exactly. It empowers farmers, gives them more control.
So when we're sitting there enjoying our next cup of Ethiopian yirgacheffe or sidamo,
Delicious.
we might be tasting the impact of these economic forces, the ripple effect.
It's true. There's a whole story in that cup.
There really is. And who knows, maybe this is the start of a new chapter for Ethiopian coffee,
Hmm.
maybe even the global coffee market as a whole.
It's definitely something to watch.
It really is. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. It's amazing how intricate and interconnected the world of coffee truly
It
is.
really is.
Until next time, everyone, happy caffeinating.